Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, here at CyMet Central. Joining me in the studio is no one. Leah's gone at training camp for, I don't know how many weeks. She's gone for 2 weeks, but training camp's only a week, so she had to take a week to get out there and get back, because why not?
Right.
It's that's out in Tucson, doing the old lemon thing. Joining us remotely, we have Tim.
Strelecki.
And our guest today is Mr. Nick Hand. Go ahead and
Hello.
introduce yourself. I just said your name, but.
Yep. Nick Hand here.
And you're calling us from the sunny land of?
I'm just outside of St. Louis, Missouri in Kirkwood.
On the Missouri side.
That's right.
Having fun down there. So we'll get into it in a little bit, but we brought you on to talk about your company and kind of what you do. But before we even get to that, you got the garage door open behind you. It's nice weather down there. What kind of temps you guys looking at today?
Oh, yeah. It's like 75 or something.
Nice.
God.
Yesterday it was up in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. But It's supposed to have like a huge storm tomorrow and get down into the 40s. But then back up for, looks like mid-60s for Tour St. Louis next weekend. So
Nice.
Tour St. Louis is next weekend?
that it is.
What do we have here next weekend? Tim?
I have no idea.
Nothing? It's something sticking in my mind. I'll think of it anyway. Yeah, no, we're sitting here thinking it's beautiful outside and it's 63.
For us, that's good.
Yeah, it is actually really good. I wish I was
super
outside
good.
riding a bike.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little, on the breezy side, but other than that, it's good.
I don't know. For me,
the last 2 nights I've been able to train just in the shorts and short sleeve.
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
In the park.
I've gone out twice so far this year in shorts and short sleeve. I've had the opportunity for that, and that is amazing. I absolutely love it. Of course, one time we had to drive 6 hours south side of the state, so almost in your area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. Unfortunately, though, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm sure it's the same for you, but for me, it is bike industry, and it's this time of the year, and it got sunny and warm out, which means everyone I haven't seen for 4 months has decided, or 3 months has decided to come out of the woodwork and show up in the shop and ask for stuff or have me fix things or, whatever. I was kind of coming to the week going, and we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but I was coming to the week going, geez, Leah's not going to be here. While I will miss her and she does get a lot of stuff done, it is an opportunity for me to focus and get a lot of little projects done and just put the nose to the grindstone.
Yeah.
And I have not been able to do that because it's nice weather. So everyone in the world has walked in off the street going, hey, can you got a few moments? Can you change the bearings in these wheels for me? Can you, hey, I just thought I'd stop by and see how's the team doing? What's going on with this? Hey, I heard you have socks. I was listening to the podcast. I heard you had socks. Can I buy some socks from you? So, it's a double-edged sword. Oh, and of course, every shop in the world is like, hey, it's nice out and people are riding. So people have been coming in and buying all our chamois cream. And we need you to send you some more. So speaking of which, I've been kind of alluding to this. We've got some new graphics. Hopefully everybody can see them if you're on the YouTubes. I will put one of these as our cover for the episode, but we did get some redesign on the buttonhole chamois cream containers. So by all means, go out and try to pick up some up. You can always get it at your local bike shop. If they're running the existing graphics, labels, decals, they probably are, and they will be, because these are the only two in existence that have the new decals on them. So it might take a while before you see them out in the wild. But, if they're running low, say, hey, by the way, did you hear they got some new ones? Why don't you go and order up the new design? So ask for it by name, buttonhole chamois cream. There's my ad. I'm done.
There'll be one at the end as well, Nick.
I'm sure.
I listen every week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gotta have it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so Nick, bikes. How'd you come to cycling?
Well, I fell in love with bikes as a kid. So I grew up in the west suburbs of Chicago in Glen Ellen.
Nice.
My parents actually just sold our like a childhood house, and they're moving to New Mexico. But I lived a block off the Glen Ellen crit course, right next to Glenbard West.
Oh, nice.
So my dad raced for Pepsi Schwinn back when I was a kid.
Okay.
My dad and my uncle. And so I loved bikes and bike racing. And I finally got to start doing a little racing when I was like 11 or 12, I think. I did mountain bike racing over in Morrison, Illinois, over by the Iowa border. They used to have like early 90s, like 91, 92, maybe 93 time. And it was all like motocross and like bog buggy trails and stuff. Like,
Oh,
it was.
wow.
So back then, like, we raced in the mud, we raced in all kinds of crazy stuff. So it was basically like cyclocross. So when I got back into cycling, I didn't realize the thing had gone to like, we don't ride in the mud anymore.
It's
So I
frowned
definitely,
upon heavily.
yeah. So I rode in the mud a few times when I got back into riding and got in big trouble. But yeah, I got back into riding in my late 20s. I ended up, I was a gymnast and I competed for the University of Illinois.
Nice.
When I graduated, I was real beat up. Like, I have a bad back, bad shoulders, bad knees, and just sat on the couch for like 3 years getting fat. And
Wow.
so finally I decided I didn't want to be fat anymore. I always loved riding a bike, so I was going to just, build up a bike and just kind of tool around, and just immediately fell back in love with it. And that was in 2008. And so from 2008 till now, like, it's just been a complete obsession, basically. So yeah, that's how I came to the sport.
Nice.
Now, racing wise, you're still racing now. What's your primary focus for a long time was road, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Or it still is to a great
yeah,
degree.
it still is. So I race everything. I race road, mountain, and gravel, but I focus on crits. This year I probably won't do any mountain biking. Maybe I'll do one mountain bike race at the end of the year that I traditionally do. But I'll mainly be doing like local gravel, 100K gravel races, and then lots of crits. So yeah, crits are definitely like my passion. Love doing them. And I race in the 40 plus masters field.
Yeah, I'm in the 40 plus masters field. I wouldn't say I race, but I'm in it. Although I don't know, I'm sitting there kicking around the idea of jumping into a couple crits this year, but I'm not exactly sure why, because really it's just a donation of money at that point. But I don't know. You never know. I've been looking at Autobahn, South Chicago.
Yep.
And thinking about jumping into a couple of those. I'm like, hey, at least I won't get dropped in the TT. That's all I got to say. So I got that going for me. So how'd you transfer? So you, at some point, got into the business and into the industry. So kind of explain the transition of that, what your company is, what you're doing, and all that. Like, how'd you get there?
So TW Carbon got started in 2014. Basically that summer, was racing a ton, and I think I broke like 3 bikes in a 4 or 5 week period. It's like, I'm not a very crashy person. It ended up being a rash of crashes that happened, and we had this guy locally who was doing repairs, and he could get him turned around fairly quickly. Otherwise, like, all that we knew around here was sending stuff out to Calfee or Spider Tech, and that was taking
Forever.
My last buddy that did it took 3 months to get his bike back, and I only had one bike. The other bikes that I broke, I had borrowed from friends. So I was like, I can't send these bikes away for 3 months.
Right.
And so that friend was fixing them. Well, then he one point told me that he was going to go back to school in Montana and get a master's degree. And I was like, oh man, we can't lose this, this thing that we have here. And so I paid him to give me the basics of carbon repair, and bought up like all of his supplies and his tools and stuff. And took about 3 months of like studying and practicing on just busted frames that he had laying around. And then I would say like August or September of 2014, I started paying customers.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. So I did that from 2014 to 2020. I did that as a side job, and I worked in a factory down here. And basically I rented out space in like a back corner of that factory. So I'd get done with work and then I would just go, and I had like a tent that I had put up to try to keep dust and fumes down. But I mean, there was no exhaust fan or anything. Like it was the most disgusting thing.
Unhealthy.
Yeah. And the factory owner wasn't happy that, spray dust was getting everywhere. And so when 2020 happened, I got laid off from the factory, but my bike stuff, since it was considered a bike shop, I was allowed to keep that open. And just started seeing like, oh man, if I actually do this full time all day, every day, like it's actually going really well. And so that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to build out my own shop and I'm going to do this full time.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Found a good spot that I'm literally right next door to another local bike shop here. So when customers come with their bikes, that bike shop next door will do all of our mechanic work.
Yeah.
And then they'll just walk the bike over here and we do it. So we have some really good synergies where we're able to help each other out a lot.
That's a great way of doing it. I know I messed up in that regard. I was always like, well, and I can strip the bike for you, and I can do this, and I could, and I'm ended up doing all my own work, and I just end up getting spread way too thin by doing that. Or like now when it's like, hey, I should be shipping out a ton of chamois cream, and instead I'm also running up front and replacing wheel bearings and adjusting shifting, and I don't know, building some really neat Haro bikes, things like that.
Hey, I'm at least nice enough where I put a feeler out days in advance to let you know what you're about to get into. I respect you in that way. I don't just walk in and go, here you go, problem's yours.
Well, at the same time, though, you know what they call the people that just walk in and go, hey, here you go, this is yours. You know what they call them?
Customers.
I mean, it's what you should expect. And so for me to be like, oh, God, it seems a little, I missed the message here, But so I get it. I'll
throw the feeler out so at least you can emotionally prepare for it.
Yeah. But I'm not fixing bikes though, in the way that you are, Nick. So cover kind of the spread of what you do. Like what falls under your umbrella?
So we do carbon fiber repair, paint repair.
Oh, nice.
Custom paint. We have done a little bit of carbon fiber manufacturing. We made a woman a custom like pannier rack for the back of her Moots gravel titanium gravel bike. That was pretty cool. So yeah, we do a little bit of tiny little manufacturing jobs, but not a whole lot. Mostly it's just repair.
Nice.
And we do take in basically anything that's carbon fiber. Mostly, 99% of our work is bicycles, but we'll get calls every now and then. Like we've done wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Nice.
You get a lot of automotive stuff yet, or?
Yeah, so I actually have a whole separate business that deals with automotive. That one is focused mainly on race cars. That we travel around and follow the racing series, and we pick stuff up, bring it home, fix it, and then bring it back to the next race in the series.
Now, are you doing that, or do you have somebody else that's doing that for you?
I have. When it first started, I was helping a lot with it, and now I've got a manager and guys that work over there. But it's another facility. It's like 3 or 4 miles away from here.
Nice. So it's close to you. That's cool. So with the automotive side of it, do you do like, is it just like small parts, or you do like major parts? Like, are you doing like steering wheels and dashboards and things like that, or big stuff?
So for the race car stuff, it's all like outside like body panels.
Okay.
Or like aerodynamic
scoops like, and all sorts of stuff like that.
Most of the inside of the cars are, they're all metal. But yeah, these are
nice.
Aston Martins, Porsches,
oh shit,
Lamborghinis, but they're race cars. They are street legal. They come from the factory ready to race. If you open them up, like there's only one seat in there, and it's all roll cages, and
oh wow,
real race cars. They just look like what you would see on the street.
Yeah,
1,500 horsepower.
Yeah. I mean, they're $500,000 race cars.
Yeah. Jesus. What sort of series are they running? Are they doing SECA stuff, or?
We follow the SRO and the IMSA series, and then I know that there's a couple of lower ones that as the cars get older, they fall back into those older ones. So as more carbon fiber cars fall into those lower categories, we'll start doing more of them. But yeah, if a series doesn't have carbon fiber parts, it's not worth it for us to go sending guys there.
Nice.
So on the bike side, what do you consider, or like when should somebody consider getting a repair done? Like what's a good way or a good technique of somebody being able to self-diagnose, so to speak?
So, I mean, a lot of people will talk about like a tap test, and I mean that can work. The problem is like a tap test can give you false negatives and false positives. There literally are diagnostic tools that you can do tap testing with. Like it comes with a little hammer, and it's wired to a box, and you use it to do tap testing. So it is a legit testing method. But the amount of times that I've had customers say, well, I tap tested it and it was fine. And then, I can literally look at it, or I can scan it with I have ultrasound scanning.
Yeah.
And see that, it's absolutely broken. Most of the time, I mean, you're going to be able to visually see damage. You'll see a crack, or the tube will be squishy, or I mean, if you squeeze a tube and you hear crackling, it's broken. The obviously the dangerous situations are like you have some big crash like into a field or something, and your bike goes flying in the air, and it lands in the field, so it doesn't have anything hard to land on, so you might not see any like impact damage, but there's going to be major stresses that happen to the bike. Or say you get sideswiped by a car, and the car doesn't hit your bike, but it hits you, and you hit your bike, and so now you have this huge bruise on your thigh, but like your bike looks okay. Like those are both instances where we've seen massive damage to the carbon tubing using our ultrasound to see like, we need to replace your top tube, or your foot is totaled or something. And the dangerous thing about carbon is the delamination of the carbon fiber. It's not actually the cracks that you can see.
It's the layers peeling, right?
It's the layers that are peeling up underneath there, because those spread out way farther than what you can visually see with the cracks in your tube. So again, we'll get a customer that's like, well, I got this tiny little crack here, so it should be a really easy small fix. And I'm like, I have to explain, well, it's like breaking glass, like the hit that where that rock hits your windshield, if that's where it hit, and you'll see a little damage there, but then that spiders out all over the place. And so we have to remove all of that delaminated stuff and get back to an area where everything is bonded together in order to have a safe repair. Otherwise, that delaminated stuff, technically through road vibrations, that stuff can keep delaminating.
Oh, wow.
As you go along.
Is there any, so in other words, like if there's any question at all, they need to get it inspected.
Yeah. If you have a big crash, then yeah. I mean, if you're racing crits and you slide out on it, like that's not going to be a big deal. You're going to be fine. But if your bike goes tumbling, or it gets, you have a bunch of guys land on top of you because you crashed in a field and everybody's, in a big pile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should get your bike checked.
Yeah, that happened to me at 2 years ago at Barrie, and when we hit, I think it was Sager. I don't know, whatever. The one of the roads were not Sager, maybe Shaw. The one was real sandy. And we were, just bombing down, and when people initially are at speed and they hit sand, they tense up, and that happened, and then it was just a chain reaction. Dude crashed. I tried to avoid him, and I washed out, so I crashed, and there was a big pile up, and I didn't realize until I got home from Barrie, when I looked at my bike, that the right rear seat stay had like I was like, it had like the powder coating was splintering. So I'm like, that doesn't look good. So I kind of like chipped it away, the powder coating, and I'm like, okay. And then I poked at it, and it was like super soft, and I'm like, okay, that's not good. So I think someone just, blunt force rear-ended or ran into my seat stay. So I got it repaired, and it was good. It was good as can be. But yeah, I see what you're saying with it. It's those high, like, torsional kind of impacts that really do the damage. Yeah, it was wild.
So what's somebody looking at to get like an inspection done? They have to strip their bike and send it, or they send the whole bike, or what do you typically do if they're not local?
So yeah, well, I mean, for inspection, we don't have to have them stripped. But if they're not local, stripping your bike is going to be way cheaper to ship it to us anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a smaller box, lighter box. I mean, literally an inch off the size of your box can save you $100.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So we can scan like single tubes, and we'll charge $75 for a single tube, or we'll scan an entire frame and fork for $350. If there ends up being a repair needed, half of the cost of the scan can go towards your repair. So yeah, if we found a $350 repair needed, it'll be $350 for the repair, and then $175 for the scan now.
Nice.
So yeah.
Do those prices include
with all this car noise? Hold on a second.
That's diesel.
Of course, my employees working in the paint booth, so our air compressors going off.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it does.
You're in a shop when the compressor's going off.
That's good.
Yeah.
So those prices you just talked about, Nick, does that include custom paint, or what's the additional fee for that from you?
Hold on one second. I got to turn up my sound. I can't hear it. You say that again?
What do those prices you just quoted for your work, does that include custom paint, or is that an additional fee?
So yeah, so custom paint. So custom paint for an entire paint job, we start off at $1,000. So we start by stripping the frame all the way down to bare material. So we'll paint carbon, we'll paint steel, aluminum, magnesium, whatever. We'll paint all of it, but we strip all of them down to nothing again, and then we repaint from there. So a single basic color with your basic logos on there that are a second basic color with a gloss clear coat. it'll be $1,000, and we find sand and polish all of those frames. So it's definitely a way higher quality product than what you would get from just about any OEM manufacturer.
Nice.
But I think also, Tim, you were trying to get at, if you actually do a repair, and are you including, I think he's asking if you're including like color matching that area or repainting that area.
So yeah, paint matching. We always quote paint matching separately. So, say not seeing your seat stay or whatever, but say like you needed a $250 repair on your seat stay, and then we had to fix a 6-inch area, and it's a single color. It would be another $150 to do the paint matching.
Nice. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
You would have no idea that there was ever a repair done.
Nice. That's good. That's good pricing. Yeah. Mine was like the size of my index finger nail. It was very small.
Yeah.
Just enough for me, who's doesn't have a trained eye, to go, that doesn't look right. Poke. Oh, it's soft. It's not supposed to be. Sure. That I do know.
And that was around the time, wasn't it, when I sent mine out? I'm pretty sure.
You had.
So I did send mine. I did send mine down to TW Carbon to get it fixed. That was a boon that I had. I don't even know. Oh yeah, that's when I ran into the back of you.
You half-wheeled me and crashed.
Yeah. This goes back to the, hey, Rob, I've got to do a long ride. It's going to be like 3 hours, and it's all zone 2. I'll be like an hour in, hour and a half in. If you want to join in, I guess we can ride, but total zone 2 recovery day for me. And I discovered very quickly that Tim's zone 2 is my zone 6.
Yeah.
So, that led to a little half-wheeling. That led to a little, scrambling to not lose any gap whatsoever, and me getting into his rear wheel. No, you shouldn't. Why? Why would you? That one was me putting myself on the pavement.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized that was cracked until, I don't know. I don't know when I realized it. I cracked it.
Bob Schrank was painting it for you.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about painting it. I realized it was cracked. Hold on. I think what happened was I was putting a new group on it. I finally got Di2 GRX, and I stripped the frame. And when I stripped the frame, I noticed what looked to be a crack in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to get it repainted anyway. And so I was kind of looking at it, and I had been talking to Bob Schrank about painting it. And he had come out to take a look. And he's like, well, let's see if it's an actual crack. And so we took some sandpaper to it and saw enough to know it. Yeah, there's a crack there. And that's when I reached out to you. And he had said that you two talk a bit about paint and some stuff with that. And Bob does his own thing. I don't know if anybody knows the background on him, but he does his own very small, very unique, very custom kind of painting thing. He was talking to help me out here. Richard Schwinn at one point when they were closing out Waterford to possibly take over that kind of restoration thing with the Schwinn side.
Yeah.
But that one did not work because Richard did what Richard always does, and all of a sudden decided that he had, a Fort Knox and gold mine, and it's like, no, sorry, man. The people that are restoring old Paramounts, they're your age, and there's not as many of them today as there was yesterday. So, but yeah. And then we sent it off. You did I did have Bob paint it. But you did a great job turning it around. I appreciate that. And I rode the hell out of it for the whole next year and then sold it off. But I had seen more than one Boone crack in that area of that ilk, of that time frame. So I wasn't super surprised to see it. I think it had to do with I don't know, maybe you can fill me in, but I think it had to do with their lug construction, kind of how they do that front end in kind of one big lug, and then they kind of bond it to a down tube, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean that's how all frames do it. It would it just kind of happens sometimes if they don't do a great job of getting it all clean when they're bonding it, or or the epoxy that they're using wasn't mixed right, or it's not an uncommon thing to see in any brand of bike.
Yeah, and it makes it worse when you have a ginormous fat ass ride the hell out of the thing over gravel and cyclocross and then run into somebody. I'm guessing. I mean, that's you'd be the expert on that, but that's my guess there.
Sure.
So, but no, that was a nice little setup. I got that one going. What is the most common repair that you see?
I mean,
in modern road / gravel frames,
seat stays, chain stays, and top tubes are all very common. It runs the gamut from like the bike tipping over to a buddy running into the back of you to it can be anything. I mean, we hear all kinds of weird excuses, all the way to, well, it just showed up. I didn't.
Yeah, just riding around. I was just riding around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I personally wouldn't trust it, but do a lot of people send you forks to repair? I would never trust a fork.
We won't repair forks.
Okay, good.
So literally, the only thing that we'll repair the double triangle. Anything on the double triangle frame,
okay,
we will repair.
Yeah, forks are sketchy.
Yeah, so we won't do forks, handlebars, stems. We don't.
I assume you don't do wheels.
Things that get a lot of torsion, right? Even bars especially.
I mean, when it really comes down to it, our minimum repair is $250. So when you've got even a nice handlebar,
it's not cost effective.
It's either, do I want to fix it, or do I want to just spend the same amount of money and buy a new one?
Yeah. That makes sense.
A lot of that
makes sense.
With some of the tolerances too, you won't be able to tell that we did a repair, but we do have to add a little bit of extra material on top of our repairs to spread the repair out. And so, if we had to do that to a handlebar and now you can't clamp it, if we had to do it to a wheel, are we, adding too much extra weight to this area?
Yeah.
So there's just things that we've decided are just not worth it for us to
you don't need that liability.
But I mean, we've done enormous repairs to bicycle frames. I mean, we've repaired half of a bike frame before, especially during 2020 when people couldn't get bikes.
Yeah.
They would spend ungodly amounts of money to get their bikes fixed.
That's insane. But I guess if that's the only means you have, it makes sense.
I can think of one customer that I think he's sent us his bike 3 times now, and there might not be a tube on his bike that we haven't fully replaced.
Yeah. I was going to ask that if you ever just the down tube's damaged, just cut it off, start new.
Oh yeah, we do that a lot.
That's rad.
Yeah. Especially when we're working on with high mod frames, the way that they're constructed and how brittle they are, a lot of times, a small crack ends up delaminating an entire tube. And so, we've done, S-Works frames or, top end for any brand. I'm not just picking on Specialized. That's just the one that popped in my head because I'm literally looking at one. But yeah, full tubes are very common.
That's cool. I got another question. The bike that I ride on my trainer, it's a wheel on. I just recently had a little incident where, needs carbon repair on the right chainstay. So it might be coming your way. That depends if I really ever want to take it outside. And right now it's fine. It functions on the trainer. But how much does like I said, it's a kinetic rock and roll wheel on, right? How much does the lateral compression of making the bike stable on the trainer affect the integrity of the carbon, or would you even would you even know that? I mean, it's got to weaken it over time if you're taking the bike on and off and on and off. It can't.
So I would say that it actually shouldn't do anything because that pressure should be being taken up by your axle.
Nice.
And your so it shouldn't really be any different than you clamping your wheel on.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
sense.
So when people are worried about damaging their bikes on their trainers, like the only time I've ever seen someone damage their bike on their trainer is somehow they tip themselves over.
Yep. Or drop something on it.
Yeah. So like bikes, they're going to be totally fine. I mean, the way that, you know, the double triangle in the back of a bike and the way that they're parallel is an extremely strong mechanical shape. I mean, to try to, and then when you're clamping it into that axle, like it's even stronger now.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
You would have to like really try to really damage it to do something to your bike.
Good to know, because there's sometimes like I'm just like it's got to be fatiguing this bike at some point, but it's good to know that it's not. So perfect.
No, I've gotten in arguments online more than one occasion where people have brought this kind of stuff up, and it's like, guys, you're holding it on a trainer the same way effectively from like a free body diagram kind of point of view is how you're loading it when you're on the road anyway. And anything that's kind of failing in your trainer is going to fail out in the road as well too. So I've never really gotten that one that much. I guess I could see if you restrain your two fixed points, if they're restrained, they can't really flex and kind of move. But even then, I mean, everything's kind of designed to take that load.
Yeah. Again, it's if you kept your trainer in one spot and you grabbed your handlebars and ripped everything to the side, then yeah, I mean, you could damage it. But if you're using it the way that everything was designed to be used, you're not. The trainer didn't break your bike. And the thing to point out when you asked about fatiguing is carbon fiber has an unlimited fatigue life. So when carbon fiber is used within its design parameters, they have not been able to fatigue it to failure.
Nice.
So it's one of the good reasons why like carbon fiber is actually great for the aerospace industry. So like the jets that we fly around in are now made of carbon fiber. And it's a good thing because when they pressurize the cabins and decompress them over and over, when they were made with aluminum, worry about the micro fractures that would occur. Well, with carbon fiber, that doesn't happen.
Yep.
So as long as the carbon fiber is used in the way that it's designed within the stress factors that it's designed in, like you can't wear it out. So you could be riding a 30-year-old carbon frame. If it was made correctly and it's been taken care of and you haven't crashed it, it's going to be just as fine today as it was the day you bought it.
Where if you did that with aluminum, it'd turn into butter.
It could.
Yeah. Along those lines. So out of Wayne Simon used to always say this, and he'd always be like, okay, after having a frame for like 2 years, 3 years, he was like, it's just too soft now. You know, I got to get a new one. And he would basically imply that it would wear out. And the one thing that I always, and I've had more than one rider be like, yeah, they just feel soft, over time. And I've always kind of chalked it up to, they get on a new bike, there's enough of a change in the design that it just feels stiffer. It feels, it gives them all those feels. Then there was something that came out not too long ago that showed that over time, you can get micro fractures, so to speak, within the matrix of either the epoxy or the layers, depending on wherever there were problems with the manufacturing, if the layup wasn't 100% perfect. Do you see that happen at all, or do you prescribe or subscribe to that kind of thought camp at all in any way?
I have not seen anything. the only time I see issues is manufacturing problems. So if the bike industry does not adhere to the standards that aerospace does, so there absolutely could be defects in bike in your bicycle frame that could lead to fatigue issues down the road. So I guess when I say, like, carbon has no fatigue life, and you could be, this is taking into account that your frame was made correctly. It was made with no defects. It perfect world kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the your bike is getting loosey goosey as you use it. I'm still riding a bike that I've had for 7 years, and it still feels as zippy as the day I bought it. I agree with you, Rob, that I think it's when you get on a new bike, you have all the new feels, and you think,
yeah, you're just excited. It's a new bike.
Yeah. But yeah, they don't wear out. They do go bad because of manufacturing issues or not understanding the material science. I mean, we all have seen, the aluminum bonded parts that have the corrosion all over them. That was before we really understood all the stuff about carbon fiber. I mean, you got to remember, carbon fiber has only really been in the bike industry since, what was it, like 1987 or 89, I think, is when Le Mans won his first.
Yeah. He had that TVT carbon in, I think, 89.
Yeah.
He had a carbon fork. He wrote about it in his book that came out in 89. So,
and we didn't really even like explode in the carbon bike until maybe Lance came around. And that's when probably it really started to it really started to pick up. And so the knowledge base of how to do all this stuff, like, it's just taken us time to figure it out. And then I think also the bike industry did an amazing job of scaring the shit out of everybody about how, like, this is a material that, like, is, if you look at it sideways, you have to throw your bike away and you have to buy a new bike from this. And that, that went for a very long time. And now I'm out here trying to explain to people, like, this material is a great material because it is super repairable. I would almost say, like, it's, as much as people love steel has the same kind of repairability. It lasts a really, really long time. It has a great ride feel. Like, steel is great. Carbon fiber has those same can have those same characteristics, and it can also be a race bike, and you can make it be your comfort bike. You can do all kinds of different things with carbon fiber. And I know that it is scary to some people because it can be brittle if it's not used correctly. The thing about carbon fiber is it's made to do one thing and one thing really well, and if you use it outside of that thing, then it's not going to do well. Whereas steel, you can bang it, throw it in in the corner, throw it in your car. You might chip the paint, but it's going to be fine. Carbon, you do have to take a little bit more care of it, but it's a great material for bicycles.
Yeah, I that brings up, somebody looked at me like I had 5 heads when I said this to them, probably within the last year or so, and they were wondering. The old thought process was you would run, I say old being like 2006 to like 2012-ish era, you would run an aluminum crit bike, and you would save your carbon bike for all the other rides that you do, and especially if you were just going to do crit racing, because it was like, hey, you're going to hit the deck, you're going to have this happen, that happen, and most of us couldn't afford to replace our carbon bikes. I know I did it. I went out and I got an aluminum frame and a cheap aluminum frame. But then I started to find, because I had to train on what I was racing on. So I found that I was riding on the aluminum all the time. Couldn't stand it. and the very nice, giant TCR that I was racing on or riding on, never once raced it because I couldn't afford to replace it. And then it dawned on me the other day, I was like, with the amount of people that repair carbon now, it's to the point where that whole logic doesn't even remotely stand up. Carbon is infinitely more repairable on a day-to-day basis for racing applications than aluminum is by far. It's not even close. I mean, steel, to your point, steel is very repairable, but the number of people doing repairs on steel frames is, especially doing them well, is dropping to near zero. At least around in this area for sure. If anybody walked in and asked me, hey, I've got a steel frame that's damaged, I need somebody to do a really good job putting a new braze on for like my front derailleur braze on, I wouldn't have any leads to send them. But if they came in and said, hey, I wrecked my bike in the crit last week and cracked the seat stay. I was on my trainer and I cracked the seat stay or chain stay, I've got a list of people that I could definitely send them to, and I know that they can get it fixed reasonably well, fairly quickly, and get back to using the bike. So I've seen that kind of in action over the years, and it's kind of interesting how that's changed. And I don't think people fully get it or realize it, but yeah, because every now and then you go on the forums, and there's still a couple stalwarts out there, going, hey, you guys with your plastic bikes, they're all going to crack if you look at them sideways, And I typically always answer with, yep, you're right. They explode, ASSPLODE. Mm-hmm. So always fun.
What, oh, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
I was just going to throw in there because it sticks in my mind. A long time ago, another company, I was listening to the repair work that they do, and when it came to dropouts and replacing dropouts, how do you handle replacing dropouts?
So we haven't had to replace any through axle dropouts as of yet. When we replace the old quick release dropouts, we remove them. We remove what's in there completely, and then we basically craft a new dropout out of solid carbon fiber, and then basically insert it into the seat stay, chain stay, and then recreate the tubes around them.
It's a lot of work.
We've had a lot of success with that.
Nice.
Yeah, I had heard of people machining them out of solid carbon, like CNC machining the dropout out of solid carbon. But I mean, you just brought up the great point. That was at an era when everybody's running a rim brake, and that has basically disappeared.
Yeah, it really seems like they've got it really figured out with the through axles. Like I think maybe I just saw my first one on a mountain bike this last week.
It's all the weed that those guys smoke.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it was a rear triangle like swing arm, so you could probably buy the new swing arm for as much as it would cost us to replace the dropout.
Yeah.
So I think you'd be okay.
What in your professional opinion, how bad is it when someone, tries to run a tire that's a little bit bigger than maybe their frame can accommodate, and they get the chainstay rub and there's significant wear? Like that's not good for your frame overall, correct?
You asking for a friend or?
No, I mean I've had it. I've had it on some of my old bikes, and I just turn a blind eye to it. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look bad.
It's not great, but it's not as catastrophic as impact damage.
Correct.
Because again, impact damage, what we worry about is the delamination of the layers. When you're rubbing away layers on your stays, you're just sanding it away, and so there's no delamination.
Okay.
There's also probably 20 to 30 layers, which is normal.
Right.
A wall thickness is generally like 1 to 2 millimeters thick, and that's generally 20 to 30 layers plies of carbon, and there might be more or less in any given area.
Nice.
So if you've only gone through a couple layers, like personally, I probably wouldn't worry about it. But if it kept going, one, change your tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be the easy fix.
I would probably get it repaired. Once I have time to get it,
Nice.
be off that bike for a little bit. It's not the most dangerous thing that I've seen.
Understood.
I have absolutely ridden around on my own bike with the same issue,
Yep.
and then when the season was over, I fixed it. But yeah.
Well, not everyone has that luxury there, Nick.
Right.
Now let's just have carbon laying around. Oh, let me fix this.
Yep. But it would be a very inexpensive fix because we don't have to cut into anything. Like when it's a normal damage, we have to cut away all the other carbon fiber that's damaged. This, we know, like, there's no damage. We just have to put in new carbon fiber and make it look nice, and you're ready to go.
Nice. Yeah, I personally, I didn't think it was a huge deal, but I mean, it definitely compromises your frame a little bit, but I knew it wasn't huge.
You start doing it to where like that thing's getting soft, or
you feel the back end start to like.
Not really, yeah. Then you need to do something.
Oh, there's a 3-inch hole.
The important thing too there is like carbon fiber does fine without having paint on it. Like it can do fine in the weather.
Yep.
But if you don't keep it clean, and like if there, if you damage it somehow, that like water can start infiltrating into the layers, then you have a problem. So we'll see people that drop their chain, get the chain suck on the drive side. They'll leave that go, and water will start getting up in there from just riding every day, and that water will start working its way into the layers and cause a lot of damage. So like a lot of times, again, chain drop that gets down behind your chain ring, like it's probably fine. You just messed up your paint. It sucks. I did it to my own brand new painted bike. But if you see frayed carbon in there, like that's a bad thing. It'll start, dirt and crud can get in there and really start loosening things up and cause a bigger problem down the road.
I'd imagine so, especially if you're riding it outdoors in the winters with all the salt. That's got to be terrible for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anytime somebody has that stuff, we say you got to keep it clean. You got to pay attention to it. If things start going bad, get it to us as soon as you can.
Wow.
Those can become really big repairs.
It's good to know.
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking through all the stuff I've done over the years, and I'm trying to figure out which ones I want to bring up. Let's see. All right, the oldest. When we had chips, everybody would say, just drop some clear nail polish on it.
Yeah. Clear nail polish isn't a bad idea. It's a high quality paint, and it's a single stage paint, so it'll cover things up. I mean, it's never going to look good.
Right.
And it's more for like your vanity than anything. It's not saving anything. Like your carbon is not going to get damaged just because it's out in the elements, especially if it hasn't been compromised in any way. If it's still completely, solid and enclosed in its own resin, it's totally fine.
And then I actually switched over to, I would get clear coat, little touch-up clear coat from like auto places, and just use a little bit of that to drip into little divots here and there that you could tell were just paint, just to kind of seal it up to a degree. Not that did I say I did that? Never mind. I know people that have done that. What else was I got? There was like, so do you do like custom modifications? Let me kind of preface this. Let's say somebody had a frame that they loved and that they ride all the time, but the tire clearance just isn't there, and on the rear triangle.
Yeah.
Have you do that kind of stuff where you open it up at all?
So we've talked to people that have wanted to do that in the past. It ends up being it would be fairly expensive. We could totally do it. It's within our wheelhouse. Wouldn't have a problem doing
That's
it.
crazy.
We have made a road frame, a BMC TMR 02 from a road frame to a track frame. So we put horizontal dropouts on it. We do like if somebody decided they had a cable, actuated bike, and now they're upgrading to new SRAM stuff, and they want to do deletes,
plug all the holes. Yeah,
we'll do all that. I just did a fork for Dylan Johnson that had a whole bunch of like mounting brackets all over it. I removed all the mounting brackets and repaired all the holes and did a whole nother layup of carbon on it. And
nice.
then painted it for his new bike. So yeah, there are modifications that we will do, and we've talked about a lot of stuff. A lot of times it's really expensive. A lot of times you might be just better off going and finding that frame. I mean, if you really love your frame and you want to do it, we can do it, but it's not cheap.
Yeah. The other one I was thinking, do you do anything about the whole Trek BB 90 bearing pocket issues?
Yeah, we just fixed one the other day. Damn it. Yeah, we will do those fixes. Those are real easy. We've put in whole new bottom brackets for people. We either aluminum threaded shells or carbon shells. We've done either or. Again, both very expensive. Both of those start around $1,100 or $1,200 for us to do that kind of work.
Wow. I kind of liked on my old cross bikes when my bearings would just fall out. Simple.
Makes the changes a lot easier.
I'm limited on the tools I have. I don't have to bother Rob. And they just fell out. It's perfect.
So much easier when you can do them by hand.
Yep. Yeah, just put them back in. Perfect.
It's not a press fit. It's kind of a hold fit.
Look how good they spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just talked to a gentleman a few weeks ago that had a custom carbon frame that I guess the BB shell wasn't square to begin with. So then they tried to bond in a titanium threaded shell, but they didn't have the clearance for the epoxy to correctly. It was too tight, so it squeezed it all out. So then that failed, but it's stuck in there. So you can't pull it back out. So we were going to have to cut the entire bottom bracket out, cut out that titanium shell, create a new carbon shell, and then put the titanium shell back in.
That is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's new bike time.
See, aren't you glad I don't bring you stuff like that, Rob?
Yeah.
And this guy, apparently, so this guy, it's a custom frame, and it's been like, it started having major problems immediately when he got it. So he spent a fortune on this custom.
Yeah.
And it's been back and forth from like the manufacturer for years now. And apparently it's been sitting at the manufacturer for the last year. And he's finally like, I guess this guy just doesn't want to fix it.
Wow.
And so he's going to get it back from him, he said, and then send it to us. So yeah, those are tough, really tough, really, we have the jigs, and we have, a drill press, but we have to like lift this drill press up onto blocks to be able to work with our jig, and making sure everything's totally square and cutting all that stuff out. It's stressful.
A lot of labor hours.
Yeah.
Wow. I would never thought you could do that. Just cut it all out. I mean, not that it's that simple. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I want to ask you, but I feel free to sidestep it and not answer it. But who's the biggest offender, manufacturer wise? Is there one brand that tends to be overrepresented?
I mean, literally, dude, they're all made the same. I mean,
it's like user error or the incident that the person gets into, right?
yeah. I mean, so like, you know, we'll see a rash of bikes for a while, and that's basically because like a new bike has come out, and so people bought a bunch of bikes, and then they ride them, and then we'll see a rash of them. So like 2 or 3 years ago, we saw a ton of Amiras in here, and they were all seat stay repairs. There was nothing technically wrong with those seat stays. It just happened to get a rash of these Amiras. Then when the Athos came out, we saw a rash of them. And we have a bunch of Specialized dealers here. So like we sell a ton of Specialized. So we're going to get a lot of Specialized bikes. Mm-hmm. So, but literally when we open these bikes up, they're basically all made the same. Now you have to put those into like brackets, like an S-Works level bike is made the same as a Lab 71 level bike, is made the same as a FAM level bike. And then if you went to the pro level, those are all made the same. And then you go to the whatever level, the layups, the thicknesses, they're all very, very similar. And you got to remember, like, they're all made in like 5 different factories in China. So,
yeah.
I mean, Giant makes Trex bikes, so it's it's basically like when pros, when they were riding steel bikes, and Eddie Merckx would say like this guy makes my bike and he's the best steel bike maker. Well, the guy's using the same steel as the next guy down the road.
Yeah.
It's the same bike. Like, you just have it in your head that you like this bike. Yeah. And that's what I think carbon fiber has become is you like the shape of the bike. I do think they put a lot of time and effort into the aerodynamics of these bikes and the tube shapes. So, when you're buying a bike, I think you should buy it for aesthetics. You should buy it for, the aerodynamics. You should buy it because you like the paint color. But like, if you're buying the same level bike, regardless of what manufacturer you buy it from, they're basically the same bike.
Mm-hmm.
Which then stands to reason. What bike are you running right now?
My road bike is a BH.
Nice. So that's kind of cool. It's not a brand you see a lot of.
Yeah. So
how
about gravel?
Gravel, I just got a Lauf.
That monster truck. That monster truck is sick.
I love it. So Dirty South was my first gravel ride on that thing.
Yeah, the paint job's pretty. That's a dope paint job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and then mountain bike, I ride a Giant Anthem.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, that's.
So when did you officially start the company then? You said, but was it 2014?
2014 was when I first, signed all the papers.
Yeah.
2020, things changed. I had a partner prior to that. 2020, we parted ways. So technically, like, my new business entity started in 2020, but it's been me doing all the stuff since 2014. Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge industry-wise, in your opinion, for you?
I mean, in my part of it is literally just growing my brand and getting enough work to come in consistently and cash flow, like we were talking about. Yeah. I mean, just like anybody else. I mean,
the bane of every small business experience.
Yeah, I have a weird like the way that my shop like experiences the bike industry is way different than the bike shop next door or any other shops here.
Yeah.
And every year it's been different for me also. Like last year at this time, I was freaking out because I was running out of bikes to work on. And now I'm just getting flooded with custom paint requests, which usually like custom paint stuff starts drying up now because we're getting back into the season and people don't want to be without their bikes for 6 weeks. But I'm flooded with them for quote requests and people actually sending the stuff in. Then, in a few weeks, when crits finally start picking up, then I'm going to start getting a ton of carbon repair
Yeah, you will.
Because crits are dangerous, you know.
Yeah, you will. You can thank Zwift for all your crit business.
I get a ton of mountain bikers also.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Sure.
We got a lot of great mountain biking down here, so we have a huge mountain biking community here.
We don't necessarily have as big of one here because, you know, we don't have that key thing, mountains.
Yep.
Good thing that was empty.
Nice. Yeah, I should probably look at my mountain bike. I've crashed it a couple times. Never thought to look it over.
Send it.
That's what they say.
They do make mountain bikes definitely beefier.
Yeah.
But if you do have like one of the high mod ones, then yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I've run it into a couple trees here and there. That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's pretty much it. Do you got any questions for us at all?
Oh man, I guess I need to get me some of that your Enzos, man. I used to buy it. I used to buy it by the case from you years and years ago, and then literally the shop that I ride for, they sell it, but it's in their only location that sells it is like 45 minutes away from me.
Oh,
damn it! And
they don't have it local. How about the guys next door? They got it.
Nope.
You know,
I've been telling them.
We'll talk. I'll send a little care package down. Walk it over there.
All right. I can
and we'll get them. We'll get them on it. But outside of that, what's your next race?
So I've got Tour St. Louis this weekend, and so I think I have 4 or 5 weekends in a row. So that it's Tour St. Louis, then is it Autobahn, and then Rough Road, and then Barry-Roubaix.
Yeah,
they're all in a row.
Nice.
Yeah, I was looking at signing up for Rough Road last night or the night before, and I still can't get myself to do the big one, like a big boy.
Yeah,
someday I will, but I don't know. The short one for me, that'll be fine. Especially because last year was beautiful weather. It was a great day out there, and I've heard so many stories about all the years with crap weather that I just can't get myself to commit to a long day with crap weather like that. I guess I could always just say I'm not going, but I
think I'm definitely a fair weather gravel rider. So yeah, if it's crap, I'm not going.
Yeah,
I don't like to destroy my bikes anymore. I did enough of that.
Yep.
I'll race on the road in the rain, but off-road, I'm tired of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's will eat your bike alive.
Yeah, I don't think people really realize how much damage it really does when you get into mud, dirt, and mix that with some water and you're running it. I used to tell everybody one muddy racing cross is like putting a year's worth of wear and tear on your parts and everything on the bike, and that's still true to this day. So, there are some people that will go out and get 2 bikes for them, like a pro going out. They run at least 2 bikes for their season, and if they end up with 4 or 5 muddy races back to back, or they got a 3-day weekend that's all mud and everything, like the old jingle cross, and at the end of it, it's like, hey, I hate to tell you this, but it's time for a new bike, or at least a whole new drivetrain.
Now with the 12 and 13 speed, everything, you have even less room to have all that grit move around. So you're just, it's wearing it out even faster.
And all those beautiful disc brakes, fun stuff. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. Love it.
Totally.
And once again, the reminder to everybody, go out and grab yourself some buttonhole chamois cream and get some of that. And if you got any needs, where can they find you online?
twcarbon.com or Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all under TW Carbon.
You've been posting some good pictures of custom paint stuff recently. At least it's been popping up in my feed, so it's always fun to look at. So I encourage everybody to go out and take a look. But all right, well, thanks for joining us, and I guess next week we'll do whatever. Leah's not here, so we'll play hooky again. We'll do something. We'll do something fun. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and enjoy the ride.